Alright, another Ron Paul video, probably the last one, I think, I hope, until after the primary. Seems to me he's probably going to run in the real election, even though he says he's not, doesn't plan on it. I think he does plan on it. I guess it depends on who the Republican nominee is, but I think his plan would be is to run, and then at the end, you know, throw his support to whoever the Republican candidate is, but that he would at least have time. And he'd probably just hit on the abolish the IRS kind of issue or some other kind of crap. But anyway, getting to the more important point, there's been a few videos made defending Ron Paul, so I figure I have to make one doing the opposite. This whole rejecting the theory of evolution, I mean, these defenses of that are just so idiotic. Like, it shouldn't be an IQ test. An atheist shouldn't consider belief in evolution an IQ test. And you know, you can tell the difference between a candidate who is just saying what he has to say to placate the Christians and a candidate who really has a hostility towards the idea of there being no God, the idea of evolution. And Ron Paul has a hostility. He is not just a Christian, he is a fanatical Christian. Alright, so anyway, the whole idea that this evolution thing doesn't matter, that you know, atheists should just find a rationalization excuse to accept a candidate that just is hostile to evolution. Not, like I said, not just playing word games, but is, you know, basically pointed out a hostility towards it, calling it a theory and this shit. And then for this stupid asshole who I think Ron Paul is smart. Well, obviously he isn't too fucking smart, and you're not too fucking smart either to make the idiotic point that it's a rational argument to point out that evolution hasn't been proven, or that there's no proof. There's never going to be fucking proof, asshole. You know, all there's going to be is a big giant pile of evidence and willingness to make the logical and unbiased conclusion. And obviously this fucktard isn't capable of doing that, because he is in love with the idea of a segregated, chauvinistic America, and that's what he wants. So let's get to the. Well, anyway, I gotta throw these stupid clips in because I don't want to run out of time without throwing them in there. So here's a little hard drive clip that was just pretty funny. So play the videotape.
The reason why I support Ron Paul is because at least he brings new ideas to the table. He's not saying bullshit like, "Oh, I think gay marriage should be legal. I think gay marriage should be illegal. I think abortion is bad. I think people have the right to choose." You know, he's bringing something different to the table, even if they're not all great ideas.
Now, you know, you gotta admit, that's kind of funny, right? I mean, yes, yeah, I don't want a candidate who has a position. I don't want a candidate who understands what women's rights are. No, I don't want, no, please don't give me that, you know. And it's just so stupid. And this hard douche, she's also pointed out things like, you know, he's anti-corporation. There's no single policy that Ron Paul supports that is in any way anti-corporation. It is all pro-corporation because it is pro-legacy wealth. It's all pro-rich man, poor man. He's for expansion of the divide between rich and poor. There's no single policy initiative that would do anything to control the disparity between the rich and the poor. Nothing. He gets rid of everything that exists currently that does anything to change that scenario. The income tax and regulation of business is the only way we have to control the our destruction by capitalism. So it's just so stupid. Alright, so anyway, let's get to the other clip, which is a Dill clip. And so let's play that video.
You hold the beliefs that most people hold in this day and age. It is almost a fact that all your beliefs are just wrong. I'd rather take my fucking chances and go for something called progress, and take my fucking chances and go completely wrong or completely right. I'd rather just, I guess it's damaging to be kind of this way, but I don't know. This is kind of my picture of Ron Paul. Yeah, Dill, do you want to draw stuff? The resolutions lost a lot, but Ron Paul 2008. Yeah, this is going to be my Christmas gift to Kevin. I drew Ron Paul. So yeah, support crazy people like Ron Paul in hopes that I'm extremely right and everyone else is just plain a little bit wrong. Not completely wrong. I'd rather be extremely wrong, extremely right, or than a little bit wrong, which is what most people's beliefs are.
Pretty good drawing by Dill of Ron Paul, but what a horrifying gift. I mean, Jesus, imagine hanging that on your wall. But anyway, yeah, in her argument that yes, I'd rather be laughably wrong than, you know, a little bit wrong, you know, or completely right rather than just a little bit right but sometimes a little bit wrong, or yeah, no, the idea is to be right. I mean, that's, you know, the objective, and you really should do your best to figure out what the right answer is, not to try to calculate what could be the highest risk right answer or the lowest risk wrong answer. Yeah, I mean, what a pile of shit. I mean, you know, it just sounds like an excuse to it just sounds like an excuse for a philosophy that does, all of a sudden you've got 4,000 holes in it and you want to ignore the holes because you have some hope that it makes sense in the end. I mean, it's sort of the definition of faith. I mean, isn't it? I mean, it's like, yeah, I'll buy the God lottery ticket, even though it's no probability, it doesn't make much sense. Wow, it could be a big, huge payoff if it's right. So I'd rather be preposterously wrong. I, you know, don't want to invest in anything realistic. You know, instead, I'll go for the crazy ass because it has some sort of, you know, ultimate payoff in either being preposterously right or preposterously wrong. Well, not preposterously right, but humongously right. So yeah, well, whatever. It's crazy logic. So let's get to the big one, which is the look. He not only has rejected evolution, he has rejected Abraham Lincoln. I mean, this is, you know, his statements are getting more and more amazing and more preposterous. And this whole idea that it was Abe Lincoln's fault, the Civil War, and that we should have done like the English and bought our slaves into freedom. Number one, it wasn't even a practical possibility. We had more slaves than any nation in the world. And obviously we had it in a more difficult problem in that our slaves weren't integrated in our society. No, it was a North-South kind of syndrome, and it was the South who decided to destroy the Union. I mean, Abe Lincoln just said, no, we're not going to let you do that. And Abe Lincoln was sort of comfortable with the idea of grandfathering this slavery thing out. I mean, it wasn't going to be a draconian transition for the South, but the South didn't want to accept anything. They saw it as a long-term threat that they would have to, in a progressive manner, abolish slavery. And it's just idiotic to think that the North should have sat there and paid the South. All the South would have done with the money is bought, you know, oil tanker-sized boats to fill up with slaves to haul over here. So, you know, so they could sell them to us for even more money. It's just idiotic. I mean, they got free labor, you assholes. Figure it out. And yeah, like I said, anybody who would defend that premise, I mean, it's just such a silly argument against. I mean, there's better arguments against the Civil War. So to latch on to such a silly one just demonstrates who he must have been talking to. How do you even come up with such a nutty idea? You got to talk to some crazy ass loony racist motherfuckers to come up with an idea this crazy, and to be comfortable to have those words come out of your mouth. So obviously I was right, you know, a couple weeks ago when I said this guy's a fucking racist, and that's what it's fucking goddamn about. All right, he's a fucking racist. I bet he's a fucking chauvinist too. Yeah, this guy is a nightmare. He's just a disaster, a fucking human disaster in terms of a philosophy. He has no ethics, no integrity, no anything. Like I said, that's why it's all such bullshit. Like I said, how's he solving any, how's he creating a fair economic system by getting rid of the income tax? The income tax is the fairest of the taxes around. There's just nothing in any of his policies that makes any fucking goddamn sense. Obviously, we can't abolish the Defense Department. Certainly, we can choose not to get into wars. That's nothing we need Ron Paul to stop. We just have to stop electing fucking asshole Republicans to do that.
And if it wasn't for entanglements by the French, we wouldn't have a goddamn revolution. I mean, it's just such a joke that a country who owes its freedom to other countries willing to risk entanglement, could now turn its back on that whole concept that has any obligation to anybody else in the world. Because it doesn't like a few bad wars that a few bad presidents have gotten us into, because people voted for those assholes. Look, the second time Bush won, the second election, he shouldn't have come close to winning, okay? People knew he was a liar. They knew he got us into a stupid-ass war, and they still voted for him. So the fault isn't with Bush. The fault isn't with the choices we had. The fault is with the goddamn people who voted for that shit.